here we go.
Each person is born with the potential to achieve something wonderful with his or her life. Everyone, including you, possesses powers and capabilities that have never before existed. You are unique. When God made you, He threw away the mold. And you have an important contribution to make to this world. The only question is, are you going to fulfill your earthly destiny, or will you, as the majority does, go to your grave with your music still in you? This is one of the most important questions of your life. Are you going to fulfill your potential and become everything you're capable of becoming? Most people do not. Only a small percentage of individuals in each generation live their lives to the full, functioning at the outer limits of their capabilities. The majority simply live lives of quiet desperation, feeling helpless and trapped by circumstances beyond their control, by fears and doubts that hold them back. I'm convinced that fear is, and always has been, the great enemy of human potential. More people are held back by fears, real and imagined, conscious and unconscious, than by any other factor. Where on earth do these fears come from, and what can we do to overcome them rather than having them overcome us? Children are born with only two fears, the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. All other fears are learned as we grow up. Parents, in an attempt to guide and control us, tend to use destructive criticism on their children an average of 8 times for every 1 time they use praise. The psychological impact of punishment, scolding, and spanking, all meant to help us learn, is the development of feelings of inferiority, inadequacy, and self-doubt. These feelings translate into fears of failure, fears of rejection, fears of poverty, loss, lack, and limitation. We know that whichever emotion is strongest in us will determine our response to any situation. And whatever emotion we give into the most becomes the controlling emotion in our lives. For most people, fear is the dominant emotion. Most of what people say, their reasons, justifications, and excuses, are simply ways to rationalize acting in accordance with their fears. The opposite of fear is love, especially self-love, self-esteem, which is expressed in desire. That's why intense desire, a powerful emotion, is the starting point of all great success. Because if your desire is strong enough, it will overcome your fears. If fear is the great enemy of human potential, especially the fear of failure, then the great business of success depends upon the development of courage. Winston Churchill said, "Courage is rightly considered the foremost of the virtues, for upon it all others depend." Perhaps the most outwardly identifiable quality of the healthy personality is courage. You can always tell how together you are as a person by how willing you are to risk, to move out of the comfort zone toward the fulfillment of your potential. The future belongs to the risk takers. They are the movers and shakers, the people who make things happen. The risk takers are the tiny minority who lead the human race forward, who face their fears, who act in the face of uncertainty and dare to move forward. Courage is the indispensable requirement of greatness. Yet courage, as Kipling said, is not absence of fear, but control of fear, mastery of fear, which can be learned as all emotions are learned. The Greek military historian Thucydides said that self-control is the basis of self-respect, and self-respect is the basis of courage. We develop courage by taking full and complete control over our lives and our thinking. That is why it is so vitally important to accept 100% responsibility. Remember, only action is action. Only your actions express your true beliefs and values. The first part of triumph is always try. Every great life begins with an act of courage, often daring, going beyond your personal boundaries into unexplored terrain, controlling and mastering your fears as you advance. You develop courage by being courageous when every fiber of your being is pulling you back towards safety in the comfort zone. General Douglas MacArthur said, "There is no security in life, only opportunity." The one human quality that must be developed for success is self-discipline. The willpower to force yourself to do what you know you should do, when you should do it, whether you like it or not, whether you feel like it or not. Every act of self-discipline strengthens the habit of self-discipline, just as every act of expediency strengthens the tendency to act expediently. It has been said that hard work, persistence, and focusing on clear, specific goals are the keys to success. That's true. But these are merely the outer expressions of self-discipline, as it were self-discipline in action. Whenever we think of a person we admire, a man or woman of character or integrity, we always think of a person who does not and would not act expediently. When we think of great men and women, we think of those who would do whatever was right and noble rather than what was expedient under all circumstances. Your key to success in life is to resolve to do what you know you should do, what other successful self-disciplined people do, when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. True self-esteem, the foundation quality of your success, comes from mastering yourself, resisting the temptation to take the fastest and easiest way, and sticking to what you know to be right until you win through. This is the psychology, the mindset of success. Self-esteem requires self-discipline, and self-discipline builds self-esteem. I think the refusal to accept responsibility for one's life is the primary reason for negativity and unhappiness in our society. And all high-achieving men and women are highly responsible individuals. Self-esteem and self-responsibility go hand in hand. That self-esteem reinforces self-responsibility, and self-responsibility reinforces self-esteem. And in my experience, and the experience of many practitioners today, we find that your ability to forgive others, to accept full responsibility for your own life, and not blame others or hold grudges against others, is a hallmark of healthy personality. That your personality is healthy to the degree to which you can freely forgive and forget offenses against you. And if you cannot forgive offenses against you, to that degree you are held back from success. And the more grudges you have, the more bitter you are, the less forgiving you are, the more unhappy you will be all of your life. So make it a rule, as they say, never to let the sun go down on your anger. Make it a rule to forgive everybody in your life who has ever done anything that has hurt you, and let it go past, so that you can commit all of your energies toward accomplishing the things that you really want in life. You are the architect of your own destiny. You are the master of your own fate. You are behind the wheel of your own life. You are where you are and what you are because of your own conduct and your own behavior. The slogan of the high achiever is always, if it's to be, it's up to me. The acceptance of responsibility for your life is the starting point of true maturity, success, and high achievement. And without the acceptance of responsibility, nothing else is possible. Emerson said you can tell how big a person is by how big their responsibilities are. This is one distinct area where winners and losers part company. Winners always look upon themselves as the cause of what happens to them. Losers are always blaming someone or something else. Now, why should this be? Well, of course, from the expediency factor, we know that people always seek the fastest and easiest way to get the things they want. And if something goes wrong, the thing that they want is to get off the hook. So the fastest and easiest way is always to blame someone else. But when we blame someone else, to that degree, we give control of the problem to that other person. And we take control away from ourselves, and we become more negative, and we become more frustrated the more we try to make other people responsible for things in our life that we don't like. In our study of negative emotions, we found that almost all anger, all frustration, all hostility comes from the attempt to blame others for problems in our lives rather than accepting responsibility. In fact, if you stop blaming other people, you'll find that most of your negative emotions will go away. If you stop blaming your past and stop blaming your present and stop blaming your parents and your boss and your relationships, you will find that it's almost impossible to become angry if you can't blame anybody. And the way you stop blaming is to accept responsibility. The mark of the high achiever is that he or she refuses to blame anyone or anything. High achievers discipline themselves, control themselves, to keep their minds calm, clear, and balanced. John T. Malloy, in his book Live for Success, said that the one big difference between winners and losers, and he said, let's not mince words, let's call them what they are, is that losers never accept responsibility and winners always do. When things go well for losers, they blame it on luck, and when things go poorly for losers, they blame it on the system. But winners accept both the credit and the blame for everything that happens to them.
The real aim of life is to develop character and substance as a human being, to become a man or a woman for all seasons, a person of whom nature can be proud. But character can only be developed in the crucible of experience, hard, bitter, difficult experience. The interesting thing about negative experiences is that they come unbidden, usually unexpected, in spite of all our efforts to avoid them. And yet, if we were successful in so ordering our lives so as to avoid all adversity, we would never have the opportunity to fight on, to persist, and to develop our characters. Adversity is not to be feared and avoided. It is to be embraced and overcome.
Within every setback or difficulty lies a valuable lesson, often an advantage or benefit that you can find if you look for it. Napoleon Hill, in his success classic Think and Grow Rich, said that persistence is to the character of man or woman as carbon is to steel. Anyone can persist and have courage when the going is good. It's when the outlook seems bleak that character is required. In the poem Carry On by Robert W. Service, he says, "And so in the strife of the battle of life, it's easy to fight when you're winning. It's easy to slave and starve and be brave when the dawn of success is beginning. But the man who can meet despair and defeat with a cheer, there's the man of God's choosing. The man who can fight to heaven's own height is the man who can fight when he's losing." You must resolve in advance that no matter what happens, you will never give up. Take every setback as a spur to greater effort, as a challenge to bring out the best in you. Believe in yourself, believe in your mission, believe that you have been put on earth to make a difference, to do something important, and your struggles are part of the price you must pay to achieve personal greatness. Look upon temporary defeat as simply another way of learning how to succeed. If you have the willpower and determination to stay in there, nothing can stop you in the end. This is the true psychology of success. To do what you should do, when you should do it, whether you like it or not, and keep on doing it until you win through. Winston Churchill was asked in his old age what was the most valuable lesson he ever learned. The old man replied, "I can sum up the lessons of my life in 7 words. Here they are. Never give up," he said. Never, never give up. Integrity means living in harmony with the great cosmic law of cause and effect, the biblical law of sowing and reaping. Never expect to reap more than you've sown, or to harvest before your crop has had time to grow. Never expect to get more or different from what you put in. Integrity means accepting that you are responsible for your life and never complaining. Henry Ford said it well, "Never complain, never explain." If you don't like the way things are, get busy and change them. And if you're not willing to change them, then don't complain. The dictionary definition of integrity is wholeness, oneness, unity, complete. And in the physical realm, living a life of integrity means taking care of your body and your health, recognizing it as the temple of the soul. Finally, integrity means to always do what is right and moral in the eyes of God and man. Remember, as Emerson said, there is a third silent party to all our bargains. Guard your integrity as a sacred thing. Practice the universal maxim of philosopher Immanuel Kant, who said, "Live your life as though your every act were to become a universal law." Always err on the side of fairness in your dealings with others, especially when you have the upper hand. Practice the golden rule, love your neighbor as yourself, and do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Here's a good question to ask yourself at regular intervals to keep yourself on track. It's a hard question, but it's a good one. Ask, what kind of a world would this world be if everybody in it was just like me? And finally, remember that nothing is at last sacred but the integrity of your own mind. Never compromise it for anything or anyone. There's a beautiful poem by Jerry Buchanan called Living and Giving, or The Law of Life, and I'd like to quote it here in full. It says, "Whatever you give away today, or think, or say, or do, will multiply about tenfold and then return to you. It may not come immediately, nor from the obvious source, but the law applies unfailingly through some invisible force. Whatever you feel about another, be it love or hate or passion, will surely bounce right back at you in some clear or secret fashion. If you speak about some person a word of praise or two, soon tens of other people will speak kind words to you. Our thoughts are broadcasts of the soul, not secrets of the brain. Kind ones bring us happiness, petty ones untold pain. Giving works as surely as reflections in a mirror. If hate you send, hate you'll get back. But loving brings love nearer. Remember, as you start this day and duty crowds your mind, that kindness comes so quickly back to those who first are kind. Let that thought and this one direct you through each day. The only things we ever keep are the things we give away.
Have we started the fire?
Yes.